नमस्ते सारस्वती गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, everybody. How are you?
Good Mataji, how are you?
Hari Bol. Good Mataji. Vaishnavas Mercy. Last week we couldn't meet. Sorry about that. Okay, so last time I think we covered up till verse number 21, and we discussed the section where, Atmaratir, where Lord was telling Arjuna that, unless and until someone is fully purified, they should not give up the duty. So Atmaratir is a person who is fully purified. He's Atmatript. He doesn't have any more desires. Therefore, he has no duty to perform. Na tasya karyam na vidyate. So such a person, he has nothing to do. So in the previous verse, this is 3.17. So 3.15, 16, Krishna was telling Arjuna about all the yajnas, sacrifices. So if one is not in Krishna consciousness, then one has to perform these yajnas. Otherwise, one will be entangled in sinful reactions. But Atmaratir, he has no duty to do. He is fully satisfied, fully purified. He has no more desires. Then he cannot do. In verse number 18 also, Krishna told the similar point. He is self-realized, he is totally satisfied, so no need for him to perform any duties. Na karte na hak, na karte na artha. No purpose for him to perform anything. He doesn't depend upon anybody. No attachment to perform anything. So no need for him. So in 19th verse, then, if Arjuna wants to know how can one achieve this stage of Atmaratir, so Krishna explained that. So he can achieve this by performing Nishkam Karma Yoga, Asakta Karyam Karam. So without attachment, one has to perform his duty. And then, yeah, Krishna has been repeating this Nishkam Karma Yoga here again and again, because we conditioned souls, we are so attached to our results. So Krishna is reminding us how entangling it is, and we should not bother about the results and just perform our prescribed duties. In verse number 20, then Arjuna may say that I'm totally purified, I'm an Atmaratir, so no need for me to perform any duties. So then Krishna said this verse. He gave examples of Janak Maharaj and others like Prithu Maharaj, Yudhishthira Maharaj, and so many devotee kings in Bhagavatam we have. So they were all self-realized souls, but still they were performing their duties. So Krishna gave him this example. And in verse number 21, again, Krishna told him that Arjuna, you are a leader and people are going to follow you. Yad yadachrati shreshta. So you have to perform your prescribed duties. Otherwise, people will also give up and you won't set a right example for them. And yeah, okay, so that was 21. And now in verse number 22, Krishna will set example. Krishna, he himself sets example. So this is a new section we are starting. Just a second. So verse number 22. न मे पार्थस्ति कर्तव्यं त्रिषु लोकेषु किंचन नान्वप्तम् अवाप्ययं वर्त एव च कर्मणि. Somebody please read the translation.
Yes, Mataji. Can you
And
read Mataji? Hare Krishna.
yeah, sure, Mataji.
O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems, nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I am engaged in prescribed duties. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described in the Vedic literatures as follows: Tam Ishwaram Paramam Maheshwaram Tam Devatanam Paramacha Daivatam patim patinam parama prasad parastad vidama devam bhuvaneshvam idyam natasya karyam karyam karanam cha vidyate natat samas cha vyadikas cha drishyate parasya शक्तिर विविधावा श्रूयते स्वाभाविकी ज्ञानवाला क्रियाश्च. The Supreme Lord is the controller of all other controllers, and He is the greatest of all the diverse planetary leaders. Even after His control, all entities are delegated with particular power only by the Supreme Lord. They are not supreme themselves. He is also worshipable by all demigods and is the supreme director of all directors. Therefore, he is transcendental to all kinds of material leaders and controllers and is worshipable by all. There is no one greater than him, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. He does not possess a bodily form like that of an ordinary living entity. He is not. He is no different. There is no difference between his body, his soul. He is absolute. All his senses are transcendental, and one of his senses can perform the action of any other senses. Therefore, no one is greater than him or equal to him. His potencies are multifarious, and thus his deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. Shvetashvara Upanishad 6.7 to 8 verses. Since everything is in full opulence in the personality of Godhead and is existing full truth, in full truth, there is no duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead to perform. One who must receive the results of work has some designated duty, but one who has nothing to achieve within the three planetary system certainly has no duty, and yet Lord Krishna is engaged in the battlefield of Kurukshetra as the leader of the Kshatriyas between because the Kshatriyas are duty bound to give protection to the distressed. Although he is above all regulations of the revealed scriptures, he does not do anything that violates the revealed scriptures. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So here now from verse number 22 to 24, Krishna gives example of himself. That see, I also need not perform any prescribed duties. These verses we learn here. Prabhupada has mentioned 2 verses here. So the second verse translation, if you see, he does not possess a bodily form like that of an ordinary living entity. There is no difference between his body and his soul. He is absolute. All his senses are transcendental. Any one of his senses can perform the action of any other senses. There is no one greater than him or equal to him. His potencies are multifarious, and thus his deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. So Krishna, he's like full in opulence. He's the supreme personality of Godhead. There is no duty for him, no need for him to do anything. But still, he says in the verse, Trishu Lokeshu Kinchana. So in the 3 worlds, Nanavaptam Avaptvayam, there is nothing for him to do. But still he is performing his prescribed duties. We see, from Dwarka, when Narad Muni visited there, what did he see? Krishna had 16,108 queens, and there were separate palaces for each of them. And Krishna had 10 children from each of the queen. And everyday routine of Krishna is described so beautifully in the 10th canto and Krishna book also. How he would do Vedic rituals and sacrifice and meditation upon himself in the morning. Then he would give charity to Brahmanas and do all the duties of a householder. And then he would do the duties of a king also. So all this is to set an example. So in the previous verse, Krishna gave the example of Janak Adya, kings like Janak and more kings like him, Adi, Janak Adi. And now Krishna is giving example of his own, that Arjuna, you, even if you don't have any desires, you are a leader. To set an example, you have to perform your prescribed duties. When someone has desires, he works. But Krishna is Atmarati. Nobody can be more self-sufficient and self-satisfied than him. No desire, nothing he has to gain. Everything is already his. But still he did everything to set an example. So here Krishna is giving his own example. Moving on to verse number 23. Yadi hai aham na varteyam jatu karmani atandritah mama vatramanu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. Someone please read the translation.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
For if I ever fail to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow my path. Purport. In order to keep the balance of social tranquility for progress in spiritual life, there are traditional family usages meant for every civilized man. Although such rules and regulations are for the conditioned souls and not Lord Krishna, because he descended to establish the principles of religion. He followed the prescribed rules. Otherwise, common men would follow in his footsteps because he is the greatest authority. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that Lord Krishna was performing all the religious duties at home and out of home as required of a householder. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So again, same point Krishna is mentioning, and he's telling why he's performing all these duties. Why? Because if he failed to engage in carefully performing his prescribed duties, O Partha, certainly all men would follow his path. That's what Krishna is telling. If he failed to perform the duties, all men would follow his path. And the purport, Prabhupada is again telling that Krishna, he descended to establish the principles of religion. Such rules and regulations, they are for the conditioned souls, not for Krishna. But still he did everything. He followed the prescribed duties to set an example. And again, what we just talked about from Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood how Krishna was performing all his duties at home and out of home also. Now moving on to verse number 24. Itsidhyur ime loka na kuryam karma ched aham sankarsya cha kartasyam upahanyam imha prajah. Someone please read.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Translation. If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. Purport. Varna Shankara is unwanted population which disturbs the peace of the general society. In order to check this social disturbance, there are prescribed rules and regulations by which the population can automatically become peaceful and organized for spiritual progress in life. When Lord Krishna descends, naturally he deals with such rules and regulations in order to maintain the prestige and necessity of such important performances. The Lord is the father of all living entities, and if the living entities are misguided, indirectly the responsibility goes to the Lord. Therefore, whenever there is general disregard of regulative principles, the Lord himself descends and corrects the society. We should, however, note carefully that although we have to follow in the footsteps of the Lord, we still have to remember that we cannot imitate him. Following the imitating are not on the same level. We cannot imitate the Lord by lifting Govardhana hill as the Lord did in his childhood. It is impossible for any human being. We have to follow his instruction, but we may not imitate him at any time. The Srimad Bhagavatam 10.33 30 to 31 affirms, Naitat Samacharet Jatu Manasapi hi Anishwaraha Vinashyati Acharam Maudhyad Yatha Ardho Buddhi Nyam Visham Ishwaranam Vachaha Satyam Tataiva Acharitam Vachit Tesham Yatsva Vacho Yuktam Buddhi Mamstat Samacharet. One should simply follow the instructions of the Lord and his empowered servants. Their instructions are all good for us and any intelligent person who performs them as instructed. However, one should guard against trying to imitate their actions. One should not try to drink the ocean of poison in imitation of Lord Shiva. We should always consider the poison of the position of the Ishwaras, or those who can actually control the movements of the sun and moon, as superior. Without such power, one cannot imitate the Ishwaras, who are super powerful. Lord Shiva drank poison to the extent of swallowing an ocean. But if any common man tries to drink even a fragment of such poison, he will be killed. There are many pseudo devotees of Lord Shiva who want to indulge in smoking ganji, marijuana, and similar intoxicating drugs, forgetting that by so imitating the acts of Lord Shiva, they are calling death very near. Similarly, there are some pseudo devotees of Lord Krishna who prefer to imitate the Lord in his Rasa Leela, or dance of love, forgetting their inability to lift Govardhana hill. It is best, therefore, that one not try to imitate the powerful, but simply follow their instructions, nor should one try to occupy their posts without qualification. There are so many incarnations of God without the power of the Supreme God. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you. So again, Krishna is telling the result of his not performing his duties. So if Krishna doesn't perform his duties, then people would also not follow their dharma, their prescribed duties. And men and women, if they don't follow dharma, then Varna Shankara. Sankarsya Chakarta Syam. So this is Krishna's answer to Arjuna's fourth argument, that if he fought, then men of the society, they would be killed, and there would not be any religion prevailing. Nobody will be there to guide the women and children, and women will freely mix up with other men, and then there will be Varna Shankara, unwanted children will be born. So Krishna is refuting that. What is Krishna saying? Krishna here is telling that if you don't perform your prescribed duty, if you don't fight now in the battlefield, then there will be Varna Shankara, because nobody will do their prescribed duties then. Nobody will follow the dharma then. And all the culture will be lost. All the dharma will be lost. So this is the refutation of Arjuna's fourth argument. And in the purport, Prabhupada is in very detail, very beautifully explaining to us what is the meaning of following Krishna. Krishna is saying that I'm doing this so that people can follow. I'm setting an example for everybody. So what should we understand from this? Following Krishna. Everyone should follow Krishna. What does that mean? Anybody? What did you understand from the purport? How can we follow Krishna? By doing the same activities Krishna did?
No, Mataji, by following what is suggested, what is written in the scriptures, whatever instructions in the scriptures, because his actions are not to be followed by ordinary human beings. Only the scriptures instructions should be followed.
Yeah, so we have to see that Krishna did his duties, prescribed duties. So we have to do our prescribed duties according to our Varnashrama Dharma. It's not that we have to do the same thing Krishna did. Someone said that Krishna did so many immoral activities, so-called immoral, like Ras Leela and all. Prabhupada has also mentioned. So we can also engage in, all those activities. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada is addressing that point in the purport, that imitation and following, these are two different things. We need to follow Krishna and not imitate him. And the purport Prabhupada is saying, we have to follow in the footsteps of the Lord. We still have to remember that we cannot imitate him. Not possible for us to imitate him. If we do what Krishna did, thinking that, oh, it's immoral, but Krishna did, we can do it, we will be, we are already contaminated, and we will be more contaminated, we will be entangled. Example Prabhupada gives is of the sun. Sun is very powerful. The sun is so pure and powerful, it can evaporate the water from a filthy place also, and yet it doesn't get contaminated. So similarly, someone who is powerful, they can do some apparent, it looks like it's immoral, though it's not immoral. From our material conception viewpoint, we think it's immoral, but still they don't get contaminated. Krishna is all pure, and anybody who comes in his contact, he also becomes pure. Sin can't touch someone who is in contact with Krishna. Then how can sin touch Krishna? right? Sin can't contaminate Krishna. Krishna lifts Govardhan hill on his left hand finger for 7 days, 7 nights. Can we do that? We can't imitate that. Then why should we try to imitate a Ras Leela? And Prabhupada gives example of Lord Shiva also. So many pseudo devotees of Lord Shiva who want to indulge in smoking ganja. So all these things we should not imitate. There is a difference in imitation and following. We can't imitate these Ishwaras, great controllers, but we have to only follow their instructions. Okay, so whatever Krishna does, that is perfect. There's not even a smallest speck of immorality in that. Therefore, we don't have to try to imitate him. Everything belongs to Krishna. Whatever he wants to do, however he wants to use it, he can do it. But we are not supposed to do that. Okay, so Krishna in these verses from 22 to 24, he told how he is also doing his prescribed duties to set an example. And we have to learn all this from Krishna, that we have to follow Krishna's instructions and perform our prescribed duties, but not imitate him. Now from verse number 25, another section starts, the next section, that we should not disturb the attached people. When a learned person, who is a leader, who is just doing his duties to set an example, he's not attached to any result or anything. He's detached from the fruits. But when he sees the people who are attached to the fruits, how should he deal with them? Verse number 25. Saktah karmani avidvamso yatha kurvanti bharata kuryad vidams tatha saktas chikir shuraloka sangraham. Someone please read.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yeah, please.
Shall I read Mataji?
Yes, Mataji, please read.
As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment, for the sake of leading people on the right path. Purpose. A person in Krishna consciousness and a person not in Krishna consciousness are differentiated by different desires. A Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not conducive to development of Krishna consciousness. He may even act exactly like the ignorant person, who is too much attached to material activities, but one is engaged in such activities for the satisfaction of sense gratification, whereas the other is engaged for the satisfaction of Krishna. Therefore, the Krishna conscious person is required to show people how to act and how to engage the results of action for the purpose of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. So here Krishna is continuing the same theme, that how leader should do his duty. And Krishna is talking about two types of people. First type is avidwan. In the first line only we see avidwan. The first line, the last word is avidwan. Okay, so avidwan people, how are they? Saktah karmani. Sakta means attached. They are attached. And then next line he talks about kuryad vidams tatha asaktas. And the second type is vidwan people, learned people who are asakta. So avidwan people, those who are not learned, those who are ignorant, they are attached to the result, sakta. And those who are vidwan, they are asakta. They are not attached to the result. But they do everything for, the last word again, loka sangraham, for setting an example for the other people. Okay, so he's continuing that same thing. And how we see in ISKCON society, and Prabhupada himself, like in the purport, Prabhupada is talking about the materialistic people and the Krishna conscious people. They may appear to be doing the same activity, but their consciousness, that is totally different. Krishna conscious person might be working like an ordinary man, but he is doing with 100% Krishna consciousness. So that makes all the difference. So there's big difference in consciousness of people. How Prabhupada, he would be writing books, he would be getting the paper, he would be going for printing, he would be going for distributing. So people would take it like a business, that, oh, this old man is doing some business. But what was Prabhupada's consciousness? 100% Krishna conscious. So that is what makes the difference. That's what Prabhupada is telling in the purport, that he may even act like the ignorant person. But he may act like the ignorant person who is too much attached to material activities, but one is engaged in such activities for the satisfaction of his sense gratification, whereas the other is engaged for the satisfaction of Krishna. So that is what makes the whole difference between Vidwan and Avidwan. And in now verse number 26, Krishna will tell how a learned person, a Vidwan, should behave with a Vidwan, the unlearned person. Na buddhi bhedam janiyed ajnanam karma sanginam joshyet sarva karmani vidwan yukta samacharan.
I'll read, Mataji.
Yeah, please, Mataji.
So as not to disturb the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop. A learned man should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. Purport. Vedaischa sarvai aham eva vedyaha. That is the end of all Vedic rituals. All rituals, all performances of sacrifices, and everything that is put into the Vedas, including all directions for material activities, are meant for understanding Krishna, who is the ultimate goal of life. But because the conditioned soul do not know anything beyond sense gratification, they study the Vedas to that end. But through fruitive activities and sense gratification regulated by the Vedic rituals, one is gradually elevated to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a realized soul in Krishna consciousness should not disturb others in their activities or understanding, but he should act by showing how the results of all work can be dedicated to the service of Krishna. The learned Krishna conscious person may act in such a way that the ignorant person working for sense gratification may learn how to act and how to behave. Although the ignorant man is not to be disturbed in his activities, a slightly developed Krishna conscious person may directly be engaged in the service of the Lord without waiting for other Vedic formulas. For this fortunate man, there is no need to follow the Vedic rituals, because by direct Krishna consciousness, one can have all the results one would otherwise derive from the following one's prescribed duties. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So now, how a learned man should behave with the unlearned. Na buddhi bhedam. Don't disturb their intelligence. Whose intelligence? Ajnanam. The next word is ajnanam. So ajnanam, karma sangina. So they are ignorant people, foolish people, ajnani. They are attached to the fruity work, karma sangina. What will happen then? Joshiyet sarva karmani. Joshiyet is dovetail. Dovetail their activities in Lord's service. This is what you have to do. So if there is a person attached to the fruits, and if we tell that, this is very entangling for you, and whatever good, bad you are doing, this will keep you caught in this cycle of birth and death. So you should just stop working. Don't do all this. So will this help that person? Anybody? What do you say? If we see materialistic people working so hard for, they are so passionate, they want this, they want that, and they are just working too hard, being attached to the fruits to fulfill their desires, and we just go and tell them to stop all that. No, this will lead to bondage, and this will lead you to miseries, and you will never be able to get out of this cycle. So will this help them? They will be able to stop their working?
No, no.
Mataji.
Yeah. Why would they not be able to?
Mataji, because their consciousness is not on that level, so that they can understand
Why their
what is a
consciousness
karma and akarma. Yeah, Mataji, sorry.
yeah, that's true. Their consciousness is not on that level. So on which level is their consciousness now?
It's on like Mataji karmic reactions, like
Material.
material.
Desires, right? Desire. So they are on the platform of mode of passion.
Mode of
So they
passion
are
or
passion. So they are totally under the control of the modes. They are being pushed by Rajogun. Rajogun pushes us, gives us so many desires, and it encourages us to work hard, fulfill this. I want this, I want that. So Rajogun is totally having control over them. It's pushing them, it's dictating them to do this and do that. So if we then tell them that just stop all this, the Rajogun will make them so restless. Oh, yeah, I can't do this. Oh no, my life is hopeless. I can't achieve this. I had so many goals, so many desires. What to do now? So when a person is on that platform, we just can't totally ask him to, just put a stop to everything. Rather, we have to teach him to engage everything, engage the fruits in Krishna's service. So we can ask them, we can ask someone to give donations. Okay, work hard, earn money, do whatever you want, give some donation for temple, give some food grains for temple kitchen. And people like to do that. So whatever they like to do, whatever way they are ready to do, we can encourage them to do that. If they want to come to temple, sometimes they like to, render some service. Ooh, they feel very good about it. We did some service today. So we can ask them to do that. So this will then help them to slowly be detached from the fruits. Detachment will develop slowly, slowly. All of a sudden, we can't make them detached from everything they want, because the modes are pushing them. And Srila Prabhupada, this is how in the beginning, when Prabhupada was in Western world and all, Prabhupada engaged devotees according to their nature. Whatever they like to do, whatever was their interest, they were good at, Prabhupada engaged them with those activities in Krishna's service. Somebody was good at painting, okay, you draw Krishna's paintings. We see so many beautiful pictures of Krishna and all his pastimes in several books. They are drawn by his disciples. So Prabhupada just dovetailed their activities in Krishna's service. Whoever was good at cooking, Prabhupada engaged them in cooking, encouraged them to cook for Krishna. And book distribution, and whoever wanted to earn money, Prabhupada encouraged them to work and earn money and utilize it for Krishna service in temple. So this is what we need to learn from Prabhupada and from these words of Krishna. Prabhupada has explained in purport again nicely. So ignorant men should not be disturbed. The learned Krishna conscious person may act in such a way that the ignorant person working for sense gratification may learn how to act and how to behave. So by example, slowly, we can show them that how we have to, be more attached to Krishna and detached from all these things. But all of a sudden, we should not dictate it to them. This will disturb the ignorant person. Okay, so verse number 27. Verse number 27. So what is the mentality of an ignorant person? The person we were talking about, whom we should not disturb. What is his mentality? Why is he attached to his fruits? That's what Krishna is telling here. 3.27. Prakrate kriyamanani guna karmani sarvasha ahankar vimudhatma karta aham iti manyate. Someone please read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, should I read?
Yes, Mataji, please.
The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself of the doer of all of activities that are actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. Purport. Two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and other in material consciousness, working on the same level may appear to be working on the same platform, but there is a wide gulf of difference in their respective positions. The person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He does not know that the mechanism of the body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. The person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is the symptom of his nescience. He does not know that his gross and subtle body is a creation of material nature under the order of the supreme personality of Godhead, and as such, his bodily and mental activities should be engaged in the service of Krishna in Krishna consciousness. The ignorant man forgets that the supreme personality of Godhead is known as Rishikesha, or the master of the senses of the material body, for due to his long misuse of the senses of in sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So this is the mentality. What is the mentality? He thinks, I am the doer. Karta aham iti manyate. He thinks, I am the karta. I am the doer. So obviously the fruits are for me. I am working hard. I am doing everything. So fruits obviously belong to me only. But in actuality, what happens? Jiva, the living entity, can only desire. And then everything is done by the three modes: goodness, passion, ignorance. They engage us in different types of activities. And Prabhupada is telling about the basic difference between Krishna conscious person and an ordinary person. Krishna conscious person, he understands that he is not independent. Body, mind, senses, everything is in the control of the three modes. So I am not the doer. Fruits are not in my hand. They are not they don't belong to me. The fruits don't belong to me. Krishna is doing everything. So fruits are for him. And therefore he engages everything in Krishna's service. This towards the person in false ego. On the other hand, the person in false ego, he takes all credit for doing everything independently. He does not know that this gross and subtle body is the creation of material nature under the order of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he doesn't have knowledge. He's ignorant. Therefore, he considers himself everything. I am the controller. I am the doer. So everything belongs to me. The fruit belongs to me. The last line of the purport again, Prabhupada is telling, for due to his long misuse of the senses and sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego. For long time, he has been using his senses for his sense gratification only. That's why he has forgotten his relationship with Krishna. He doesn't know what is my position in relation to Krishna. How am I related? How am I able to act accordingly? He's totally bewildered now. There was one story related to this verse. In kids class we would do it. So I mean, this is just to explain kids, but it's a small thing which helps us to remember this point all the time. So when we see, it's too windy, like it's in Bangalore, the weather is like that for quite some time now. So when it's too windy and from a tree, a leaf that just is broken and it goes flying along with the wind, right? Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, it goes right, left, high, this, that. So the leaf is flying so freely, in the air along with the wind. In whichever direction the wind is taking it, it's going there. But the leaf, if it is bewildered like an ignorant person, it will think that, wow, look at me, I can fly so good. I'm going down, I'm going up, I'm going right, left, I can do so much. And these leaves on the tree, they are just stuck there. But is the leaf flying on its own? No. A learned person would know that the leaf can't do all this on its own. The wind is making it do all this. It's under the control of the wind. If wind wants it to fall down right now, the wind can do that too. So that is a learned person. So that wind are the three modes under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the ignorant people, like the leaf, they think, we are doing everything. So everything belongs to us. But it's the wind which is making the leaf fly. Okay, so now next verse, verse number 28, Krishna is telling about the mentality of the learned person. Tattvavit. How are these? Verse number 28. Tattvavit tu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartanta iti matva na sajjate. Who would want to read?
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, O mighty arm, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results. Purport. The knower of the absolute truth is convinced of his awkward position in material association. He knows that he is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and that his position should not be in the material creation. He knows his real identity as part and parcel of the Supreme, who is eternal bliss and knowledge, and he realizes that somehow or other, he is entrapped in the material consumption of life. In his pure state of existence, he is meant to dovetail his activities in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. He therefore engages himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness and becomes naturally unattached to the activities of the material senses, which are all circumstantial and temporary. He knows that his material condition of life is under the supreme control of the Lord. Consequently, he is not disturbed by all kinds of material reactions, which he considers to be the mercy of the Lord. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, one who knows the absolute truth in three different features, namely Brahman, Paramatma, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is called Tattvavit. For he knows also his own factual position in relationship with the Supreme. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So Prabhupada in the purport, first of all, we should know Prabhupada is explaining who is Tattvavit. So the last line only, which you just read, Mataji, the person who know the absolute truth in the three different features, Brahman, Paramatma, and Supreme Personality of Godhead, is called Tattvavit. And now what is his mentality? He knows the difference between working in devotion and working for fruitive results. What is the difference? That being attached to the fruits will cause bondage, and being detached from the fruits will cause liberation. So therefore, he works without attachment. Okay, so it's a simple. You all are doing that already. I'm trying to. So we all are somewhere. And we have already talked about it in the previous verse also. So this is what Prabhupada is explaining in the purport again, that when we know our real identity, that we are part and parcel of the Supreme, then we know that only by serving him, we can be satisfied, we can be happy. So that's why they offer the fruit to Krishna. They offer the fruit to him. When he is pleased, he is satisfied, we will naturally be pleased and satisfied. That will give us happiness. Moving on to verse number 29. So here Krishna again now is talking about the mentality of ignorant people, not learned people. Prakratir guna samudha sajjate guna karmasu tan akratsna vido mandan kritsnaha vinva na sorry, Krishna Vinna Vichalayet. Someone please read.
May I, Mataji?
Mataji, please.
Translation: bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge. Purport: persons who are unknowledgeable falsely identify with gross material consciousness and are full of material designations. This body is a gift of the material nature, and one who is too much attached to the bodily consciousness is called manda, or a lazy person without understanding of spirit soul. Ignorant men think of the body as the self. They accept bodily connections with others as kinsmanship. The land in which the body is obtained is their object of worship, and they consider the formalities of religious rituals to be ends in themselves. Social work, nationalism, and altruism are some of the activities for such materially designated persons. Under the spell of such designations, they are always busy in the material field. For them, spiritual realization is a myth, and so they are not interested. Those who are enlightened in spiritual life, however, should not try to agitate such materially engrossed persons. Better to prosecute one's own spiritual activities silently. Such bewildered persons may be engaged in such primary moral principles of life as nonviolence and similar materially benevolent work. Men who are ignorant cannot appreciate activities in Krishna consciousness, and therefore Lord Krishna advises us not to disturb them and simply waste valuable time. But the devotees of the Lord are more kind than the Lord because they understand the purpose of the Lord. Consequently, they undertake all kinds of risk, even to the point of approaching ignorant men, to try to engage them in the acts of Krishna consciousness, which are absolutely necessary for the human being. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. So this is the mentality of ignorant people. So how are they? And then again, the section is going on how we should behave with them. So the word here in the verse, if you see the first line only, samudha. So samudha are befooled by material identification. So these are befooled people, ignorant people. And then the word also used in the third line, mandan. So they are lazy to understand self-realization. So they are too attached to the fruit work. So then what should we do? The last line, kritsna vinna vichalyet. Kritsna with is the person in knowledge, those who are in knowledge. They should not do what? Vichalyet. Vichalyet is agitate. They should not agitate, should not disturb these mandan people, samuda people. So kritsna with people should not agitate the mandan or the samuda people by telling them, which we just discussed in the previous verse also, to stop their activities. But we should simply teach them how they can engage the fruits in Krishna's service. In Purport, Prabhupada is talking about so many isms, social work, the nationalism, altruism are some of the activities for such materially designated persons. Under the spell of such designations, they are always busy in the material field. For them, spiritual realization is a myth, and so they are not interested. So what should we do? Those who are enlightened in spiritual life, however, should not try to agitate such materially engrossed persons. But then in the next paragraph, Prabhupada says, men who are ignorant cannot appreciate activities in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Lord Krishna advises us not to disturb them and simply waste our time. But the devotees of the Lord, they are more kind than the Lord because they understand the purpose of the Lord. Lord want everybody back. Lord want everybody to understand what is right, what is not. So therefore, the devotees, they understand, they undertake all kinds of risks, and even to the point of approaching an ignorant man, they try to engage them in Krishna's service. So here Prabhupada is telling us how devotees, they go a step ahead. They are even more merciful than Krishna, and they take so many risks to even approach ignorant people and engage them in Krishna's service. Krishna is telling not to disturb them, but Prabhupada is telling how a devotee is even more benevolent than the Lord, and he preaches to ignorant people to take up Krishna consciousness and give up the materialistic activities at their own risk they took. Okay, so now we should also understand that this section, it's like Karam Yoga. So here Krishna is talking about Karam Yoga, but Prabhupada, when he's talking about the devotees, like we take a risk and we can approach ignorant people, he's talking about Bhakti Yoga. So the path of Jnana Yoga, Karam Yoga, they are mostly dependent upon one's own endeavor and purity. If our heart is pure, then only we can progress towards Krishna. Right? We have done it earlier, Karam Sannyas and Karam Yoga. If someone is not pure enough and they give up their activities, they take Karam Sannyas, it's not going to be good for them. They will be called pretenders. On the other hand, they should engage in Karam Yoga. They should do their prescribed duties so that they can be purified and slowly they can progress on the path. So therefore, path of Gyan and Karam, they depend upon one's purity, one's own endeavor. But path of Bhakti, this is dependent upon the grace of the Supreme Lord. So in Bhakti Yoga, we encourage even the ignorant people, everybody, common people also, to attract the grace of the Lord. Because the grace of the Lord is very powerful. It can inspire totally impure people, totally degraded people also. Impurity doesn't matter on the path of Bhakti. It's all about grace. Even if person is totally fallen, degraded, he can also, by the grace of the Lord, can become a devotee. Okay, so here path of karma and jnana is mentioned, and Prabhupada is talking from the point of view of bhakti path. So karam yoga, that is better than karam sannyas. So this point is from the point of view of karam yoga. So don't ask them to give up everything, stop everything. Let them do what they are doing, but engage them, dovetail all that in Krishna's service, because their heart is not pure yet. By doing their prescribed duties and slowly engaging in Krishna's service, dovetailing their activities, offering little bit out of their fruit in Krishna's service, their heart will gradually become pure. Okay, so moving on to verse number 30. I'm sorry, I'm going slow with scrolling and all today. Actually, Manish Prabhu is not available today, so I have to manage everything. Yeah, verse number 30. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasa adhyatma chetasa nirasir nirmamo bhutva yuddhasva vigat jwaraha. Someone please read.
Hari Krishna Mataji. Translation. Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from lethargy, fight. Purport. This verse clearly indicates the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord instructs that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties as if in military discipline. Such an injunction may make things a little difficult. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out with dependence on Krishna, because that is the constitutional position of the living entity. The living entity cannot be happy independent of the cooperation of the Supreme Lord, because the eternal constitutional position of the living entity is to become subordinate to the desires of the Lord. Arjuna was therefore ordered by Sri Krishna to fight as if the Lord were his military commander. One has to sacrifice everything for the goodwill of the Supreme Lord and at the same time discharge prescribed duties without claiming proprietorship. Arjuna did not have to consider the order of the Lord. He had only to execute his order. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all the souls. Therefore, one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme soul without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious, is called Adhyatma Chetas, Nirasiha. Means that one has to act on the order of the master but should not expect fruitive results. The cashier may count millions of dollars for his employer, but he does not claim a cent for himself. Similarly, one has to realize that nothing in the world belongs to any individual person, but that everything belongs to Supreme Lord. That is the real purpose of Mai, or unto me. And when one acts in Krishna consciousness, certainly he does not claim proprietorship over anything. This consciousness is called nirmama, or nothing is mine. And if there is any reluctance to execute such a stern order, which is without consideration of so-called kinsmen in the bodily relationship, that reluctance should be thrown off. In this way, one may become vigata jvara, or without feverish mentality or lethargy. Everyone, according to his quality and position, has a particular type of work to discharge, and all such duties may be discharged in Krishna consciousness as described above. That will lead one to the path of liberation. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you. So this is a very important verse from this chapter again. So here Arjuna, if Arjuna is confused that, okay, Krishna is telling that I should not give up my prescribed duties, I should do it to set an example, but I don't even have to disturb the people. So who is learned, who is not learned, whom I should tell what, and I should set an example in the right way to the right type of people. So if he's getting confused, then Krishna is giving a direct instruction to Arjuna here. What is that instruction? Mai sarvani karmani. Perform all your works simply for me, Mai. So this is again bhakti. Krishna is talking about himself. So how in second chapter also we did verse number 61, Tani sarvani karmani yukta asit mat paraha. So in there also that was the first drop of bhakti in second chapter. Krishna talked about himself. For me, do it. Here also he's doing Mai sarvani karmani. So bhakti is being added here in this chapter. Then what is he saying? Adhyatam chetasa. So from the purport, if we say what is adhyatam chetasa, one who depends, the Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls. Therefore, one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Soul without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious, is called adhyatam chetasa. Okay, so we have to understand properly that I am the part and parcel of Krishna. I am fully dependent upon him. My business, my only business is to serve him. That's it. That person is adhyatam chetasa, one with full knowledge of the self. Then Prabhupada says in the next line of the purport, in the verse, Nirashir. Who is Nirashir? In the purport, Prabhupada is again telling, yeah, no, it's here on. Nirashir. Nirashir means that one has to act on the order of the master, but should not expect fruitive results. Example Prabhupada is giving of the cashier. Cashier may count millions of dollars for his employer, but he does not claim a cent for himself. So Nirashir, a person who has no desire for profit, no attachment to the fruit. He only gets what he deserves as per his quota. He gets his salary. That's it. And then is nirmamo. Who is nirmamo? Nothing is mine. This consciousness is called nirmamo. No proprietorship. No sense of proprietorship or ownership. Krishna is the real owner. Krishna is the real proprietor. Everything belongs to him. So the fruits are also for him. Nirashir, fruits don't belong to me. Now someone may think that, okay, Krishna is the owner and everything has to be offered to him, then why should I work? Everything is for Krishna. Why do I need to work so hard then? But then Krishna says the last word, Vigat Jwaraha. What word meaning? Without being lethargic. That without laziness, without being lethargic, perform your duty. Otherwise, what will happen? You will incur sin. So you have to perform your prescribed duty, but at the same time, be detached from the fruits, understanding who is the real owner, to whom does this fruit belongs. Okay, so it's an important verse, and it helps us to understand our position in relation to Krishna. And these words are very important. Nirashir nirmamo. We have to work in this consciousness. Who is the real owner and to whom the fruits belong. And adhyatma chetasa, we should have this knowledge. What is our position? It's already 8:03. I think we should stop here. If anybody has any question or if you want to share something, Any comment, any realization, any reflection, we can spend 2 minutes for that. I saw some devotees were joining quite late, I think just 5-10 minutes back. So for your information, class starts at 7 o'clock. Okay, every Monday, 7 to 8. So next time you can please try to be on time so that you don't miss it out. And if you have missed today's first section, then you can watch the recording. So looks like no questions. Okay, so we'll meet next week. And Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you everybody for joining. Reading Bhagavad Gita.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you.